Okay, we're rolling. So, welcome to another Mutex Bitwig video. Today I'm going to be making a 10 by 10 grid, or at least starting one, with the idea of having a go at making something in 10 edos, so 10 equal divisions of the octave, which means, well, some of the stuff that works in previous algorithmic patches I've made in Bitwig is going to be a bit harder to do with this one, because a lot of the pitch quantizer and so on, it all works with 12 tones per octave, and I want to work with 10. So I've been thinking about it a little bit, and I was thinking that we can probably make use of the quantize object, and so we won't have quite so much control over the pitches we can choose, but be able to kind of churn out decimalized sort of pitch numbers, pitch values, and hopefully it's going to work. So without further ado, I'll just show you a couple of basic things about my setup. So I've discovered in the making of these algorithmic patches, oh, by the way, this is for the, let's go to, this is the 10 by 10 challenge on Reddit, which says, how complex and growing can you make a song that fits, that just fits within a 10 by 10 grid? And the idea is that you make a 10 by 10 patch in the grid, and lots of entries from before, and it was such a nice challenge that I decided to keep going with it. So this is my fourth one now, I think. And meanwhile, I was thinking about 10 edo, 10 equal divisions of the octave, and so I just thought this nice kind of mathematical matching of 10 by 10 by 10. So that's what prompted the idea for this one. So anyway, I've learned in the making of these grid patches that it's useful to have a channel set up ready to record anything interesting that happens. So I've got my channel here, and I've set the input for that channel to be my polygrid out, which is existing in this channel up here. And this is, yeah, let's have a look. Let's dive straight in. Okay, so I've got a few basic things that I want to make use of. I've got the phase in here, which just gives us a kind of reading of something giving us a kind of time period. So hang on, let me just press play and see what happens. Okay, right, I don't want to listen to that or that one. So one way you can work with algorithmic stuff is you can have a MIDI pattern playing notes in to just trigger off your algorithm, but I don't want to do that today. I want to mute that and use the phase signal on my grid patch to give me a kind of clock coming in. So if I set this to the gate on this envelope here, get some sound there. And so over here, I've made myself, because I'm making this kind of grid patch and it's meant to be self-contained, I've made myself a kind of mini mixing desk and test bench over here. So if stuff gets too loud when I'm creating algorithms, I can mute it quickly by pressing that. So it kind of turns this one right down using the modulator here, or I can set the levels there as well. And then I've got this value readout here that I can plug into things quickly and sort of like see if something's doing what I think it's doing. Okay, so I've created a phase signal here. So what I want to do is use this phase signal to trigger a sample and hold. So let's find that. That's in here under level, sample and hold. So I'm going to get this phase signal to be the let's do it the other way up. It's a bit neater to look at. Let's get the phase signal and the noise signal. So this phase signal will trigger the sample and hold every so often, and it will take a reading from the noise signal coming in, and then it will hold that signal for a certain amount of time till the next phase signal. So at the moment, what we'll get is, if I connect it into the pitch in for this oscillator here, and we'll also have the phase doing the, I should say, turn off the gate and the keyboard symbol here, because you don't want to You don't want the keyboard to be affecting your algorithm. Okay, let's listen. So it's playing these kind of random notes at the moment, very high pitched. Okay, not very exciting yet. All right, so mute button comes in handy. So what can we make it do? Well, we can make it do, let's make it kind of generate slightly more repetitions per phase cycle. So I want to have, what's useful here? Yeah, this here, let's have a phase, oh, no, hang on, that's not the one I want. I want the phase scaler. So I'm going to plug the phase into there, and now the output of this is going to go into my sample and hold. So now I can control how often the phase signal will trigger the sample and hold. So if I take a copy of that over here as well, now we have a quick listen. So still going, okay, but this will make it go a bit faster. So you can see you've got the phase signal coming in and the phase signal going out. So the gate out gives us slightly more control over the tempo stuff. So anyway, we'll just leave that as it is for now, because it's given us a kind of relatively useful sequence of pulses to just clock something with. Okay, so now let's try and get some useful signals out of this sample and hold reading here. So it's going to take a noise, a random signal from the noise oscillator here, and kind of hold it so it stays there, and then it changes every so often. So those values at the moment, they're not giving us useful note values for making anything with. So if I was to connect it to a normal pitch quantize like this, and run our signal through there, and then down to here, we can, this would in 12 EDO, 12 regular conventional tuning, let us fix it to say, here's the major scale, although very high. Oh, okay, so actually a more useful thing to do, because these high-pitched beeps get annoying to listen to. So first, I want to constrain the range of the notes to make it so that we're not going so high and squeaky that it's really annoying to listen to. So I've been doing that using the level scaler, which arguably might not be the best way to do it. In fact, maybe the value scaler is better. Yeah, something like that. That will work. Okay, drop that in there. So this is going to let us kind of define where the top and the bottom of our random values can be. In fact, actually a more useful place to put that would be before the sample and hold. So just drag that over here, put it on there, and then there you go. So we've got the value scaler going into the sample and hold. So yeah, maybe that'll work. Let's have a listen. So sort of bring the top of it down a bit. So it's just random pitch values at the moment. So some of them are too low to hear what they are. So let's bring the lowest values up. This is like bringing the bottom end of the values up. And so the top's going quite high again. So let's bring it down a bit. Okay. A kind of listenable range. Maybe a little bit low would be good. Okay, nice little plinky plonky kind of tune. So, the thing is though, if we want to make it in 10 EDO, we can't really use this thing. Well, we could use it and maybe chuck away some of the values or squash them to be into their neighboring values possibly, but I think I want to try doing something different, because again, part of the game with this 10 by 10 challenge is doing things using a small amount of space and sort of recycling stuff as you go along. So I might not use this today. I'm going to try and make this patch without using the pitch quantizer. So I'm going to make something which does something a little bit like that. So I'm going to grab the quantize and constant. I want to set this to, I think, let's have a look. Get some values out of here. So connect it to, actually, I'm just going to drag this in so I can see it easier. So this is my, I'll zoom in a bit. Pitch values currently going through the sample and hold here. Now, if I connect my quantize here to the what's this one called? The step size in. Does this now lets me set the size of the gaps in the quantizations. So the values coming in over here, I can constrain them to being limited by a space of one whole integer or smaller, whatever. So right now it seems like not much is happening, so I'll drag those values up a bit more, see if some more stuff starts coming through. Okay, so it's sort of rounding them to the nearest integer at the moment, which is what you'd expect. So I hope if I set this to let's see, 0.12, is that going to start giving me, oh no, that's set it to 12, hang on, let me set it to 0.12. Yeah, okay. So hopefully this might start giving me values which I think are going to be 120 cents apart, which is the spacing of the notes in 10 Edo. So let's take that value reading back over there. I think this is going to be giving us, hopefully, I've not made one of these, this particular one yet. So let's see what happens. Plug that into there and turn the, I would zoom out a little bit again. Okay, quite high and squeaky still. So constrain the values to a kind of listenable set of pitches. And in fact, if we want to test that we really have got 10 Edo going on, well, let's have a look at I like looking at these values. I think this is quite a good indication. So these should all be multiples of 120. Or, 0.12. Looking kind of all right so far. Sounding kind of all right. Okay. So, actually, as far as I can tell, we have already got 10 Edo coming out of this this quantizer here, with a bit of luck. Okay. So I had this idea. I saw another on the, let's find it down here, on Discord here. There's this really nice idea by Pope Kehoe 3, analog shift register with sample and holds with a gate setting off the delays going off up here. So it basically takes a value in at the top, and then each time this gate is triggered here, the value gets shifted down the chain of value holders. And I love this kind of stuff because it just totally reminds me of like 8-bit computing ways of doing things where you really are shifting values in a register. And so I thought that would be quite an interesting thing to try and work into one of these little 10 by 10 grid patches. So now I've got my thing that I think is actually making 10 Edo notes. Sounds like it to me. I'm going to do a sort of, here's one I made earlier, and grab something from another slightly messy patch of mine here where I made this this shift register the other day. I've been funny as well with these 10 by 10 patches. It's really good to build stuff outside the grid, outside your working space, kind of get it to work and see if you can shrink it down and then move it into the grid spaces where you're kind of trying to, keep track of the amount of space that you're using and not use any more than you have to. So it's really good to build it outside and then move it in bits. Anyway, I'm going to copy that one and paste it in here, Control V, and let's have a look. So we've got these 4 values here. Now, hopefully, if I take the value that's being thrown out of this quantizer here and stick it into the top of this chain, I think what I'm going to get is a series. Oh, I need to gate the bottom down here, something like that. In fact, these should be gates as well. I think might make more sense. Okay, so this will now be hopefully storing the values that are being kicked out from over here, and perhaps if we get a few display, there we go, value readouts for them. Just quickly, we can look at the values going down and sort of see, hopefully, that the value at the top gets moved down. Yeah, it seems to be working. So we've got this kind of 4 notes going on over here, and the delay on this side here, it's just to make sure that the gates trigger in the right order. So it's just a 1 microsecond delay. So the bottom one kind of goes first, takes the reading from above and moves it down and moves it down and moves it down. So it's just a sequence of those, really. And it seems like this is actually working. So that's cool. So maybe the next thing to do is hook that up to some oscillators and kind of have a listen to what we get. Because what I'm hoping to do is get something like randomly generated chords in 10 Edo, and maybe they'll be made of 4 notes if I can get that many oscillators in to make it work. I'm going to give it a go, see what happens. And I suppose I'll kind of, I've been finding it is useful to hang on to stuff that tells you useful things that are going on, but I think I don't need to keep those because I've already seen it's working. So let us move some things out of the way. I don't want that, and I want to keep that for something else. Okay, that's our note values. So move these up out of the way a little bit, just kind of keep stuff tidy. And these here are going to inform what's going to be played by 4 oscillators, I think. So I'm going to see if I can make some space for them. So let's just drag some stuff out here. Move them up. Oh, I've got space. Okay. Got no idea really what this is going to do. I'm going to start hooking up the envelopes to the mix. Oh, okay. So I've got way more. I don't really need these 4 envelopes. I could get away with just having 1. But for now, just as a proof of concept kind of thing, I'm going to send these 4 notes to these oscillators. Ping. And that one. And 1 more. I have got no idea what this is going to do. It's going to be interesting. Let's have a listen. I'll turn it down just in case. Right. Okay. Okay. So we can hear it's taking a copy of the note, moving it down. So if I pan these out, let's do that. It should move the note across. Oh. Interesting. I like that. Okay. So like I said before, it's good to have a track set up so that whenever an interesting thing happens, you can just record it quickly when you're making algorithmic stuff. So this track here with my polygrid out as the input, if I just press record quick, just get a quick recording of what's going on. good. Because you never know when stuff like that comes in handy. Might be useful later. Right, got that. Okay, let's just move it out of the way. Right, back to my grid. Okay, what have we got? Oh, excuse me, just gonna have a drink of my tea. Oh, that's better. So, seem to have got these notes being kicked out. Possibly odd values. Make it happen a bit faster, see what happens. That's kind of a cool effect. In fact, instead of making them move straight across, I could make them do something like bounce from one side to the other. Just by changing the panning. So stuff like that's quite possible. Okay, that's enough of that for a moment. Right, so got these 4 oscillators and 4 notes being generated, which not sure it's the most interesting sequence of notes just yet. But somewhere we start tuning the system as a whole, get some interesting values to come out. Usually just a question of fine-tuning things and seeing what comes out the other side. That's why this value readout's really useful. Keep one of them kicking around. So I'm wondering if there's going to come a point at some point this evening where it turns out that I've got the maths for this wrong and that it isn't quite what I think it is, but it sort of sounds like it so far. I'm sort of, another reason I wanted to try making this patch is because I'm not completely familiar with 10 Edo. I just know that it's a tuning that is well liked by at least a couple of musicians whose music I like. Sevish and Elaine Walker, I think have both mentioned 10 Edo and said that it was a cool system. So it's not one that I've tried out yet, but I was thinking about the limitations of trying to do algorithmic music in the grid, and how the pitch quantizer being set up for 12 divisions per octave, it means that if you wanted to do, say, like 22 Edo or something in the grid, you could probably do it, but having a way to constrain the pitches to certain modes and things like that is really helpful with algorithmic music. And so when it comes to generative algorithmic stuff in tunings other than 12 Edo, it seems a little bit harder at the moment. So I think we're still kind of working out how to do that well in the grid, and especially constrained to a small space like this. So let's try and make some more interesting stuff happen with these numbers. I don't know what I'm going to do with them next, but so possibly sometimes when I've got something like this going on, I'll make the sounds themselves different to each other. So then we get this kind of so as well as the note being copied, the sound, the tone of the note is being changed. Or we could do something like skip it up an octave, so that one of the instances of copying it behaves in a different way, or maybe 2 of them behave. This is going to drop this one down an octave. And before you know it, we've got something relatively, not uninteresting happening from quite a small number of components. And I'm going to have to, I really hope this is actually in 10 Edo, because at some point I'm going to have to kind of check that what I think is going on, but it's kind of sounding alright to me, I think. Don't know. Going to keep going. a lot of the time you can fine tune it and correct the algorithm as you go. So try stuff out, find out if it works or not, find out if it does what you think it's going to do, and then just modify it to bring it closer to what you're aiming for. Okay. Kind of enjoying this little tune it's playing here. So we could certainly do some stuff like change our envelopes to make them faster or slower. Or maybe a lot slower actually. Ah, cool. Okay, so this is cool. Let's make it kicking out an interesting kind of sequence of notes. But let's bring some probabilistic elements into what we're doing, apart from just the notes that are being generated. So we've got the kind of basis of, I don't know. This has got a vibe, I reckon. This kind of thing here, just a little bit. It's enough to get going. Okay, so let's get some probability things going on. So I love probability. I love random chance, random events making musical things happen. I kind of feel like a whole lot of my musical interest in life has been shaped by this kind of quest for making random stuff make something interesting happen for as long as possible before it gets too boring, you know. So we've got these two great things to work with in the grid here, and I like to mostly use the chance module, because what that will do, it will let me take a signal coming in like this this gate signal here, and then I can reduce the probability of it happening. So let's try. I'm gonna make a few of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, all being triggered, and now I'm going to plug them into my envelopes for each of these oscillators. So we've got a probabilistic element going on about whether the note will sound. 50% chance. Let's try to see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to drop the probabilities down a fair bit. Get them quite low. Okay. Still sounds like quite a lot of activity to me overall. So probably what I could do is kind of reduce that still further by setting a kind of let's have a global probability. I don't know how I'm going to make all this stuff fit in yet, but I will work that out as I go along. Let's bring in another probability here, and I want that to be on the in fact, let's remove it. I love about Bitwig, you can just drop it straight on there and it's going to hook it into all the other stuff that was going on already, which I didn't want for that particular one, but for the rest over here. Oh, in fact, let's do that one also back. Okay, great. So now this one here is giving me a kind of global probability of all of the notes sounding, so I can drop that right down to 0, and it should make everything stop. Okay, bring it up a little bit again. The odd event will start happening. Okay, I like that. Might just crank it up a bit more, make some more stuff happen. Okay, cool. So I guess the next question is, what can we do from here to make this a kind of interesting tune with a bit more variation going on? Because we're just generating a kind of sequence of 4 notes and moving it around. Well, we could do... Oh, I don't know. We could make the notes... Would it make any difference if we made the notes swap ordered? I don't know. Maybe not. I've got a post-it note on my wall from an algorithmic producer on YouTube called Acrail, and it's a great reminder for making these algorithmic instruments. It says, let me just squint while I read it. Writing algorithmic music is hard. Most things which seem like a good idea turn out not to be. And I like that. It was just a comment somewhere, and it kind of stuck with me because it's a good reminder to just like try stuff out and see what happens. You never quite know what's going to work or what's going to be totally horrible to listen to. There's no way of knowing. Okay, so back to this kind of little chiptune vibe we've got going on at the moment. And hopefully in setting the oscillator frequency relationships like this, I don't think it should mess up trying out an alternative tuning system that's based on sort of like almost like decimalizing the octave. So in Bitwig terms, hang on a minute, now what have I, let me just think about this. So Bitwig uses one between 0 and 1 represents 1 octave when we're dealing with straight up real numbers. So we should be able to... Interesting. Wow. So you can get some very... I mean, assuming that I wasn't actually specifically trying to aim for 10 Edo, we could get some quite interesting stuff to come out of this by changing the amount that we're quantizing the pitch value by. I'm wondering if it's possible that what I'm wanting to do just... Oh, it's got to be possible. There's nearly always a way to get this to work. A lot of the time with these algorithms, you just kind of have to keep hacking away until something cool starts coming out of it, or maybe the numbers start making sense. And actually, I saved myself a 10 Edo scale right here. Let's have a quick listen. I'll just mute this for a minute. That's 10 Edo, and there's 2 octaves. Okay, and then up and down at the same time. And so that's made, okay, enough of that. That's made by just having a standard grand piano multi-sample here with the micro pitch device loaded in on the note effects. And then I've got a 10 Edo patch there, or you could take one of these from the new Edo mode and drop it down like that. That also works. But I like my 10 Edo patch here because it kind of gives me a little bit more information. This is from the days before the Edo mode was introduced. Okay, so quick reminder, 10 Edo. Okay, that's kind of the scale, or one of the possibilities of what we're working with. Back to this grid patch. Let's see if we're anywhere at all close to that. Oh, I've muted it. What have I done? Oh, I've muted it there. Okay, well, it's nowhere near at the moment, but if I change this back to 0.12, I've still got my doubts about this, you know. So maybe what I'm going to have to do, I think what I want to do is keep working on the kind of sound generating part of the algorithm and let this particular detail of the note generating part, I'm going to let it sit for a little while and think about the maths a bit more, work out if what I think is going on with Bitwig handling of like note values and stuff is actually what I think is going on or not, or whether I'm completely confused. But for now, I've got a sort of interesting enough sequence of things going on that I'm gonna plow on and make it do something. Because one thing about making algorithmic music is you've got so many different dimensions to work across. You've got sort of note events, timing events, things that produce bigger change over time, sort of in the dynamics of the tune, or the busyness or the sparseness, or whether it kind of moves on from one section to another or anything like that. So there's so many different things that you can change when making algorithmic methods of music production. But actually, what I've really enjoyed about this 10 by 10 grid approach is that doing it in a small space means that you are limited to sort of like a certain amount of stuff. So you can't go completely crazy with all the stuff you could possibly do if you had an unlimited amount of space to work with, which in a sense with the grid you kind of do, only limited by your CPU. So limiting it to a small space like this actually kind of makes it a bit more of a manageable task. So let's try and get some of this stuff from what's going on in here and make use of it by recycling it into something else that will make interesting things happen across time if possible. So okay, so we've got the sequence of beeps and this kind of general probability of stuff happening. Now I wonder, I'm going to make use of a very useful thing making these small grid patches is the modulator out, which lets you turn pretty much anything into a modulation signal. Oh, hang on, I've clicked it, I don't want to click it yet. So as well as these holding our note values, I'm also going to make them hold modulation values. In fact, I want another one. Oh, it's not cooperating. There we go. I want to make copies of it and then hook them up and move. Hook stuff up and then move it into place. Also, good bit of grid advice. Oh, I keep clicking the wrong thing. Okay, so I've now got four modulation signals, which immediately means interesting stuff is possible. So I can use these to change the sounds of each of our oscillators. Just in a sort of rudimentary way. I think I'm going to move that one back up actually. So from quite a small number of modules, we've got quite a lot of different things going on. Different bits of variation possible. If I later started to find that I was running out of space making this grid patch, I could get rid of a couple of these and probably find other ways to make more use of what's there. So there's, I suppose, building these tiny patches, a good thing to do is aim a little bit bigger than you might be able to fit and see what you can do away with afterwards. Kind of like try out your idea and then get rid of some of it if there's not enough space to make it happen, and you'll still end up with something that works. Okay, so it's just reminding me actually, another way to get cool stuff happening is anywhere you've got a noise signal being used to generate randomness in Bitwig in the grid. All the control, this signal is an audio signal, so it's in stereo. But if you use it as a modulator, you get 2 modulator signals for the price of 1. So if I press the stereo on it, what will happen is I've now got 2 different values, one going to the left and one going to the right, and all of the things here, I get 2 values for the price of 1. So my sample on hold's got 2, my quantizer's got 2 coming out of it, and somehow well, I guess each of these oscillators, so each of these has got 2 values, and somehow I think each of these oscillators has also got 2 notes going on. So one sure way to test that, mute everything. Okay, so we've got just this top one. Let's turn it up a bit. I've got 2 notes going on at the same time for that. If I turn that off, turn off the noise, we just get... So turn off the stereo of the noise signal, we just get 1 note going. So a very quick way to get 2 notes for the price of 1 with an algorithmic patch in the grid is to use a noise signal and have it running in stereo. Okay, so turn a few more of these on, see what we've got. Although it does, okay, so it's actually the stereoizing the noise does cause them to be panned left and right. Just listening. Yeah. So you can still do stuff like this. That should pan it all the way over to the left, relatively. Or relatively all the way over to the right. I'm trying to work how it behaves. I'm trying to work out how it behaves with its own stereoization. But actually, okay, it sounds like if you hard pan it, it does make it go right the way over without any coming back onto the right again. Okay, well, useful stuff. Find it out as I go along. Okay, so let's unmute these others. Sort of see if I can match the panning somehow, or do something more interesting. Don't know what's going on there. Maybe change some probabilities to make them more. Okay, so now the probability of the first triggering is more, and the third also more, and then the other 2 a lot less. Wow. Okay. Starting to have this kind of interesting groove to it already. And now, of course, I've only used one sort of oscillator here, so could quite rapidly bring in some other stuff. I mean, if you know, as soon as you start bringing in stuff like the wavetable oscillator, you've got massive amounts of sonic possibility. I mean, I'm going to drop that one in there anyway. You can just drop them straight on top with Bitwig. It's nice like that. So it's already hooked it up for me. So let's just listen to that one on its own for a minute. So I can switch through the various tables in my wavetable, various frames. So choose something with a quite rich spectrum. Got loads of kind of, oh, this is pretty 8-bit FM kind of. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so with wavetables, okay, if we want to use wavetables, we need something to... The whole interesting thing about them is moving it through the tables. So in order to make use of recycling as much stuff as possible in our tiny little grid space here, I can take one of these envelope generators and try using that to change the wavetable. It's not necessarily going to sound awesome straight away. a lot of the time with making algorithmic stuff, you just got to kind of try it out and have a listen, fine-tune the system. Oh, I like that. So you get loads of sonic potential very rapidly with wavetables for sure. Oh yeah, that's great. I wonder what it sounds like with the other stuff turned on. Okay. So I guess the thing to bear in mind when you start recycling parts of your patch to make more use of them. I mean, maybe I'm jumping into that sooner than I would do if I was going to work on this for longer than sort of like an hour or two to just make a video. I might put this kind of modulation in at a later stage of making my patch, because it helps keep it kind of more manageable to not add too much stuff right up front. But yeah, making it in these tiny spaces and reusing lots of things, you do kind of have to keep a little bit of a mental note of what you've routed to where, because I need to now bear in mind that if I change the attack or release on this amplitude envelope here that I'm using, is also going to change the wavetable position. So that may be a desirable effect, or it may be an undesirable effect. It sort of doesn't, there's not a whole lot between them, to be honest. It's just a case of having a go, treating this like a whole musical instrument, and tuning it up and playing it and making it do interesting stuff when you're not touching it. So that whole process is quite a long one of tuning something, of like really making a new digital instrument happen. So yeah, okay, I'm gonna gone off on one there for a minute. I love this stuff though, so I probably will a bit. Right, let's carry on and see what interesting stuff we can do. Okay, because I've got a crazy wavetable. Maybe it's a bit of a cop-out, but I fancy getting at least one more wavetable in there. It's such a powerful tool. Just some other unusual vowels. What's that going to be like? Oh, proper robot speech. Well, following on with this kind of chiptune FM-ish sort of direction, I'm gonna keep those vowels, and then maybe I'm gonna make this gonna do the same trick as before, make this envelope here modulate the wavetable position. Let's have a listen to that one on its own. Okay, so just tune it up. Something like that. Let's keep going. And then I might find maybe I'm not loving the sound of these. I'll turn them on again. But I want to hear more of the conversation between this kind of robot voice and this. Okay. I love how random this stuff can get quite rapidly. I still haven't really worked out if we're doing anywhere near 10 though, but we can. It's always good to kind of come back to stuff and mess with it just to see if it's actually doing what you thought it was doing. And sometimes when it sounds too complicated to make sense of, reduce the complexity in some way, so turn off the stereo of the noise source, and then we'll just have one lot of signals happening instead of two. So it's making an interesting kind of pattern of some sort. Not the most musically pleasing thing ever. So I still want to make it generate more beautiful notes, really. Maybe we'll come to that. It's often a bit that takes some of the time. Also, trying to work out where to put things so that it's kind of easy to stay on top of it. So at some point I want to move all of these things in as well. So I've got to kind of make some space for stuff. So probably I just sort of like tidy up a bit as I go along. I might move them up, because I think I'm going to keep all of these elements now. So move them up there and tidy this up and move it in. Getting quite a full patch already. I'm starting to... Whoa, okay. Starting to think about what am I going to use and how much space have I got. So I haven't got a whole lot of space left, but that's okay. This is kind of strategy time in a way. It's a little bit like playing a game of chess or Tetris, I suppose. More like Tetris, actually. Got a certain amount of space to fit things in. And look, I haven't got much left. So I want to make this tune do some more interesting stuff. So how am I going to make use of that space that's left? So before I start thinking about, well, maybe I should only have 3 oscillators instead of 4, and that will give me a load of extra space. Actually, what I'm going to do is see if I can make more interesting use of what's already there to get to sort of like squeeze the absolute most out of it before I make any more decisions about what to get rid of or what to keep. Okay, so I'm just going to check I'm still rolling, because I still have my doubts about this sometimes. Yeah, it seems like we're going. Yeah, we're going. Okay, great. Well, we got this conversation going on with it. I love delays. Delays often kind of make stuff immediately sound more interesting to me. I'm thinking about whether to use one or not to use one at this point, because chucking it in there nice and early, you get more of an idea of what the final thing's going to sound like, and also you make sure you got space for it. But also, it means that everything always kind of sounds of delay, and since this tune has already got a kind of delay built into it in a logical element, the what was it called? An analog register shift down here. Maybe I won't actually use an audio delay, but I might make use of this all pass. Yeah, let's bring that in. It's like a kind of cheap reverb signal that we can make use of. This is a polarity trick. Thanks, polarity. So yeah, I got the output of. Oh, okay. I'm going to move it. But it's starting to get a bit hard to find space to put things, but we'll carry on. I'll put that in there and here. So we get a very kind of short delay in a way. Got a bit of a kind of springy ring to it. So what I did last time actually was to take that and let's do it again. Get a blend knob from the mix section and make myself a kind of wet and dry control for this. So I'm going to have the dry signal going in there and the wet signal going in there. A bit confusing again, maybe. Okay, so I got the dry out from the mixer going into the first input of the blend, and also going to the all pass filter here, which is going to the second input of the blend knob, and then we can have a mixture of dry signal, wet signal, and sort of in betweens. Maybe this may turn out to be a luxury, but also I'm going to put a little filter on the all pass there. It's just a low pass. I'm going to stick it on the output there, but possibly move it, make a bit more space. So it starts to get cramped quite quickly working with these spaces, but basically what I've got here is I'm filtering the output of the all pass filter through the low pass. So if you listen to the wet signal here, so I can filter it, take the top end off it, make for just a slightly more convincing reverb sound at the cost of only 1 square of our 10 by 10 grid, and then I can kind of set the control of the wet and dry reverb. Okay. Oh, I like that already. So maybe I'll try stereoizing it again with the noise signal to see if we get 2 copies of two notes happening on each oscillator. Okay. So I don't love the notes it's producing. You know, if we had, by way of contrast, let's chuck in one of these for a minute, pitch quantizer. Just root. Oh, where's the first? That's going to here, and this is going from there. So if this was working in standard tuning, we could do something like this. I'm about to turn this there. So that produces fairly usable results because it allows us to specify what notes we want the incoming randomized values to quantize to. Works nicely in 12 Edo. But I want to try and do something a little bit like that, but just using this quantizer here. So I've got to figure out a way to get the maths to work. Should have paid more attention at school. Right, anyway, let's take this output there. So I'm going to keep... Oh yeah, see, we've got... Well, I am not... Oh, okay. So when something sounds great with one thing and terrible with something else, I want to get some idea of the value, the numbers that are being chucked out of the system. So I'm going to plug that back into my first value hold here. So let's have a look here. So to make something that's sounding vaguely kind of musical in 12 Edo, here are the sort of note number values that are being put out, which actually I could probably, yeah, so if you can switch the display to display note step, or I mean I don't know what happened with hertz or decibels, it doesn't really make sense for this, but so we can see note steps there. But actually, I don't really want to work in terms of note steps because I don't want to use the 100-cent divisions of 12 Edo. I want to use the 120-cent divisions of 10 Edo. So these values give us a useful indicator of what might be kind of useful, a useful range of values to come out, but they're not actually going to tell us everything we need to know. So now I'm going to switch it back over to this one. I'll tell you what, let's make 2 of these so we can compare. We can compare the two sets of values and see if anything sort of similar is occurring between them. And actually, it's all happening a bit fast, so maybe I'll just slow it right down. Oh, really right down. Okay, maybe not quite that much. So there ought to be some vague kind of similarity between these values, which are coming from the same place. But if I set this to quantize with much smaller unit, seems to follow reasonably closely. Not quite sure actually. Well, I'm struggling to find the exact way to get it to work at this point with the 10 Edo thing, but we can't be too far off. It seemed like... Now let me think this through. So, in Bitwig, we've got one... I'm sure it is one... Between 0 to 1 is 1 octave, I think. So actually, a quick way to do that would be to make a test and find out. Let's just check that. So you can, when you're not sure about stuff, you can just kind of check things out and see what happens. So, very quick output test for what we want to do. Audio out. Yep, okay. Pretty loud, but it works. Just gonna we'll turn that down a little bit. Level, there we go. Attenuate, just turn it down a little bit. So you can have multiple audio outs to try out different stuff at the same time. Turn that down. Not gonna okay, turn it right down. So now let's get ourselves a constant and set that to have, so we can change the value of it. So I'll set this so we can, this will be 120 steps there. So, oh, very high. So I kind of want to find, if I can, it's 1 per octave, I think. Are we going to hear anything? Okay. Right. Will it go up 1 octave? No. So I wonder why it doesn't go up 1 octave if I do that. Because I thought it was supposed to. Ah, okay. So how much here? How much do we have to go up 1 octave? Aha! Right. Okay, so not 1.0 per octave, but 0.1 per octave. Okay. So actually we've got quite a nice little... So actually we've practically got 10 Edo built right in there. Excellent. Okay. So don't need that anymore. So what we can do back down here, now we've worked out what was going wrong is I think I need to set this to be actually 1. And I don't think we want this anymore. So we're just not going to use that. Oh, okay. But what I am going to do is take the note value that should be coming out of here and make that go to the start of our... Oh. Now that's sounding a bit better. Okay, we'll go a bit faster. Oh, interesting. So if I set this to 2, we might get 5 Edo. Let's have a go. Oh. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Oh. Okay. So we get 5 Edo. Cool. Well, okay. So actually we've got... so right here we've got the potential to switch our tune from 5 Edo to 10 Edo, or actually some other... Who knows? Which for this kind of algorithmic small space recycling stuff production could be a very useful thing. So we can... Oh, okay. So setting it to 1.0. Right, that was going on all along. I was thinking that the reason it was pinging, that was going only in octaves, was something to do with something that was going on over here, perhaps. But actually, it was that my constant was 1 decimal place out. So let's go back to... Oh. So I reckon, I'm pretty sure that should be 10 Edo. If I just constrain the sort of values a bit more. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's value scaler that's the best. Although maybe I don't know. I'm gonna try level scaler, because that's what I used last time. Maybe it gave kind of more fine-grained control, because it kind of, in a way, we're sort of abusing a lot of the modules to get multiple functions out of them, or to get them to do things that they're not necessarily supposed to do. So we've got over here, we've got a kind of indication of what's going on, where the incoming signal is. Did the value scaler do that as well? Oh, okay. No, I didn't think the value scaler did that. So the value scaler gives this more like a waveform display. So actually the level scaler, I think that's a more useful way of controlling the signal going into the sample and hold. So I want to make it so that it's kind of hitting a reasonable set of note values with the random stuff being produced. And it's hard to get completely fine-grained control over it, although, you know, it can definitely be done. So it's sort of funny. I'm wondering, why is it hitting? It's like we've not really got any low notes going on anymore, even. I would expect it to go lower still. Not that high. Okay. So actually the level scaler is definitely boosting something just by virtue of existing, so maybe it's not so good. Because I can't go any lower. So perhaps it has to be a value scaler. Okay. So maybe that's actually going to give us more useful results, even though in terms of a kind of nice graphical readout, it's not quite so usable. So I'm trying to constrain the randomized signals to a useful range. And sometimes just check what they sound like with other things going on. Okay. Sometimes it's good to just let it do its own thing and have a listen. In these early stages of making the algorithms, they don't often sound amazing. Sometimes just kind of a bit confusing, actually. But when you listen to them for a while, I mean, I'm not so sure about this one right now, but when you listen to them for a while, the kind of their behavior starts to become emergent. You can observe it taking place, even though it's not always possible to kind of, you know, you can't predict what it's going to do music note wise, but that still it has a kind of shape that it takes over time. I find slowing it down helps. Definitely helps things emerge. I'm even going to think I'm going to drop them down an octave because they're all sounding quite squeaky. So it should like half the frequency value. Although I'm still feeling a bit confused about how the maths in Bitwig handles this stuff, because it seems like there's a couple of different ways of representing note values. You've got MIDI notes, and you've got the numerical note values where you can manipulate them here to the using the sort of decimalization of those note values. But I'm still not quite sure what goes on all these stages here. I guess I'm kind of working it out as I go, whether doing this ratio works on the frequency value or the note name or both, or I just don't feel very sure about it yet. So again, some of this stuff, don't feel like you necessarily have to know it before you go diving in and just experimenting with the grid, because some of these things just won't make sense, and others become, they make more sense over time just from trying stuff out. So I don't necessarily feel like I know what I'm doing with any of this stuff, really. I just kind of mess around with it, really. Some of it anyway. So wondering where to take this next. It would be interesting. It would be good if we could constrain the note values just a little bit more. So maybe it's going to work. Maybe 5 Edo gives us a nice subset of 10 Edo that's kind of pretty much guaranteed to work together a bit better just from random values. And again, I don't always know what I'm talking about with this stuff either. I'm still quite new to the whole xenharmonic way of making music, although it makes a lot of sense that there's loads more notes you can use. But in terms of understanding how it all fits together, I'm one of those people that just kind of has to dive in and try stuff out to get the feel for it. So these videos, I really don't want to be like seen as any kind of expert on this stuff. I'm just a person having fun with it and figuring it out as I go along, which possibly makes me a good person to learn from, because I'm just working it out loud. Certainly don't have myself down as an expert on any of it really, and I guess that's also another way of saying I really encourage anybody to have a go at making algorithmic music in the grid, because you don't necessarily have to know what's going to happen before you can get started. It's just fun to have a try and build something simple and then expand it outwards from a sort of small start. Okay, rambling. Back to this algorithmic patch. Nice. See, I like what it's doing right now. In fact, actually, just going to record a quick section of that, just because it might be interesting to come back to later. Okay, that'll do. Right, back to my patch. Oh yes, because I've set it to be in 5 Edo. So it's a lot more listenable in 5 Edo, which is kind of, yeah, expected, but also mildly frustrating because I really want to make this work in 10 Edo, but I don't want to do it if it's like gonna kind of like clash against itself too much all the time. So I need some way of kind of like selecting the note relationships, which is going to be hard to achieve in this small amount of space, but maybe there's a way it can be done. Maybe it's also going to be beyond where I go with this particular video today. I'm going to keep going just a little bit longer, see where we end up. For now I'm going to switch it back to 5 Edo just because I'm liking the sound of it. I'm going to be let's be honest here for a minute. Let's change that 10 by 10 by 5 Edo for now, and if it becomes 10 Edo, we'll change it back. So I'm finding, yeah, that's quite a pleasing sort of sequence of musical events going on. But what if I wanted to change the timing of them to kind of randomize that a little bit? So we can do stuff like we've got these modulation outs that we're taking kind of like a copy of our note values. Could change this to make the modulation time also be affected by the randomized note values, which will do some mad stuff, hopefully. Okay, so when that little okay, I'll make it possibly be able to go up a lot more, like to 4. In fact, I could just type it, but there we go. So now this random note value is going to change the timing for the whole patch. Ah, should have done that hours ago. It sounds much better. Cool. I'm still trying to think of ways of maybe... I've got these 4 envelopes here, but could I make them... Could I have anything smaller? Like I could have one... Maybe 1 envelope. But then we'd lose our interesting kind of ability to send stuff around using the panning on the mixer, which is definitely filling out the sound a fair bit. Because if I was to... let's see... Where's mix? I got a stereo width. Oh yeah, stereo width. If I stick the stereo width onto my outgoing signal, so that's what it will sound like. Oh, it's quite cool actually. I like that. That's what it sounds like mixed to mono. A little bit of stereo is quite good. Or we can have it really super wide. Interesting. Anyway, don't want that. Just trying to kind of experiment ahead to what it might sound like if I was to try to save some space by, for example, I think we could just try it out. Let's just try it and see what happens. So I'm going to make a kind of alternative version of something for a minute to see if it's any good. So I keep that one, keep that mixer. How am I going to make this work without kind of destroying too much stuff? Maybe I'll tell you what, I'll build the new one outside. So keep what works in here, and then try the new experimental stuff kind of off to the side somewhere. So I'm still going to want a mixer, one of them. But I'm going to take direct copies of each of the outputs of the oscillators into the mixer rather than going through the envelopes. And then I'm going to make just 1 envelope for the output. I have no idea what this is going to do. Might just be might give us a different way of using the same stuff. Let's just have a tacticade for now. And trigger it off of something. What would be good to trigger it from? How about off there, off the kind of global chance thing. Let's set that. So turn off the gate to make sure that it isn't going to be gated by pressing notes on the keyboard or in the piano roll. So this is being triggered. Right. No idea what's going to happen. Going to hook it up to this little... Okay, so we're going to get chords like this. Great. So every time this triggers, it's taking our 4 notes and making a kind of chord out of them. That's quite cool, actually. I like that. Okay, so actually I might be able to... I wonder if I can somehow make reuse of that without using up as much space as 8 entire squares. It's going to be difficult, but... Okay. Let's plug... I don't know, where did that one come from before? That's going down to here. And then, the blend. Okay, so once, yeah, that one. Though I could actually try my chords through my Revo. Oh, okay. Gives us an interesting idea. might just make a little recording of that, actually. That's quite nice. Just grab it. Don't know what I'll do with this, but never know. Just record interesting stuff. Where do you go? That'll do. Okay. What goes down here? Oh, and I like these chords. I kind of want to get those in as well as what we had before. So probably the cheekiest way to just see what it's going to sound like is to drop the output from this one into this mix. Oh no, hang on. Where's it? No, wait. That shouldn't work at all because I'm taking the output. Oh no. That's good. I've bypassed that mixer. Okay. So I'm going to have that one going to the bottom of this mixer over here. Mad. Hang on, I've got one channel that's not making sense here, and my computer's struggling to keep up as well. So sometimes when you can't see what's going on, you just have to kind of pull stuff out of the way. But it's not usually a problem in the grid. It's mostly compounded by trying to do these tiny 10 by 10 patches, which makes everything just a bit harder, but also more interesting. So I'm going to hopefully add this. And I could actually pan these out again if I wanted to, like over here, but it's going to use a lot of space. Don't know. As in, it's going to use a lot of space in our limited 10 by 10 grid patch, having all this stuff. So I kind of want the same effect, but not using as much space. So what I'm going to do is, blend. You can sort of hack the blend knobs together to achieve a similar kind of thing. So I'm going to make 3 of them if I can. My computer will play ball. Okay. So now, just do my sort of make a kind of fake mixer up here. So I've got my 4 inputs there, and then same again, just something like that. I've got a similar thing to this, but in a lot less space. So I'm going to do that. Now delete this mixer that we don't need. Okay, and actually that's quite cool because I can now I can sort of have a bit of a preference for. So if I set this first blend knob here to be having more of the channel 1 coming into it, this is going to be the first oscillator here, so I can kind of emphasize that a bit more. And then the second one slightly less. And then maybe I want to emphasize the third oscillator slightly more. Maybe I want to emphasize the first group slightly more than the second. So the first group of 2 slightly more than the second. So we can do some nice stuff with these blend controls. They're not necessarily a downgrade from the mixer. And we've got a mixer left anyway. We've got loads of space to use up with that. So okay, now I wonder if there's like is there an interesting way we can make this chord appear later than the stuff that's going on with it? And I think what I'm going to do that is just introduce an audio delay not a very big one, because these will take up lots of space. So let's have a short delay. Like, oh, okay, I want it to go here actually. Okay, so I'm gonna need to move this stuff in at some point over here. But interesting. So again, just a case of messing with these things till they sound good, or at least till they don't sound too awful. Right. So again, being prepared to just go like, well, that's good enough for now. I'm going to move on, fine tune it later. Good approach, I reckon. So I'm going to tidy some stuff up now. Because we've got, this is kind of cool actually what's going on. I like this. Interesting kind of tonal and note relationships going on between the chord signal over here and the individual notes. And remembering we can do stuff like, we're still working in mono at the moment, so if I turn this stereoize the noise signal, we get 2 copies left and right of the notes, so suddenly double the complexity again. So it's good when making these things to kind of maybe build something sounding less complex and then make it sound more complex by switching on the stereo afterwards. So let's have a listen. So I get 2 copies of it. Cool. Okay. Well, I'm going to kind of tidy up what I've done a little bit here. If it will let me. Come on, computer. Okay. And then see if I can somehow find space to squeeze all this stuff into. Okay, so I don't need that, so that can just go. That's my little value readouts, so I don't need that. What other things can... Just want to make use of my space well now. So I've got to keep all this stuff. Could just about get some of it in up there. Oh, I like that. It's sounding good at the moment. I love algorithmic music. It always does. It just does stuff that I would never think to do. I guess that's one of the attractions of it, really. Doesn't always sound great, but spend a while fine-tuning it, and interesting stuff happens. Like I would never have thought to make a tune that does this. But Bitwig, and I mean, I guess modular equipment in general, but I find Bitwig has kind of really got a mind of its own, and if you want to unleash that to do its own thing, there's a lot of potential to do that, as long as you kind of give it space, really. Let it do what it's good at doing, which is modulation and randomness and oh, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, I'm talking so much. Okay, so tidying up my algorithm a little bit here. Let's take... The grid's a little bit CPU hungry, and my computer is not the fastest one in the world. So actually, space is a bit of a premium, but what I'm going to do is this. Move them in slowly, so I kind of keeping track of what I've got. So I try to move things kind of near to where I'm using them. And then, wow, what could we do? What could we do to finish this off? I don't know, we've got a little bits of space left. I like to have more modulation going on, really, because there's... I guess the sort of fine-tuning of these algorithms often takes a couple of days, actually, because at this point it's doing kind of bonkers stuff on its own. But whether it constitutes any kind of listenable tune remains to be seen. I'd say it's not a million miles off. But it's a bit too far out of control at the moment. Like, it's still kind of unbridled randomness, which is fun, but also I guess humans tend to appreciate music with more of a kind of discernible pattern to it. And at the moment, even though this pattern is being constricted to a certain set of number values, it's too random to make much of a kind of discernible melody or anything. So sometimes just slowing it down can help. Wow, really slowed down. Okay, so I guess our modulator here was changing it a little bit more than I thought. In fact, let's mix up the way that the speed changes. So I'm going to add a second lot of modulation on this ratio changer here to just make it do a kind of more unpredictable thing. Okay. Wow, going extremely far too slow there. So actually, got to be careful in the stacking of modulators on something like that we don't end up generating a value below 0 and making it grind to a halt. Especially because this phase scaler here is controlling how often the gate signal is generated. So if we set it to 0, then no more gate signal will be generated, and so it won't make anything else happen. Okay. So actually what I could do is I'm going to increase the probability. I'm going to do some strange stuff here. I'm going to use these to change each other's probabilities in slightly unexpected ways to just make stuff have more chance or less chance of happening. Does it do anything? Guess I'm just making it busier at this point. In fact, I quite like to just get a noise signal itself and send that to modulation out, because that gives you loads of possibilities. So we've got the noise signal coming in here. I'm just gonna... Where's the nearest place I can put this that makes any sense at all? It's kind of hard to make it fit anywhere useful, but let's go... Well, let's just go there for now. In fact, I'm going to call it something so I know what it is. Noise mod. Okay. I'm going to take the noise signal itself and send it straight over there. And now this gives us a way of using noise to add noise to anything. So, what could we do with that? I don't know, we could use noise to modulate the wavetable position or oscillator folding. It's going to sound nuts. Or maybe just noisy. Or we could make it, yeah, let's do wavetable position with it, just because it's going to be doesn't always make useful things. Sometimes just try some stuff out. So maybe I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that noise, the ability to modulate stuff using the noise signal itself, but it's come in useful before, so I'm kind of inclined to leave space for it, just in case I want it for something. Because when we get to the last few squares of making one of these, it's like you want to make use of everything you possibly can. So one way of making use of this noise signal is to have a way to send it somewhere, so that's why I've put that in. So not much kind of Tetris space left. And I've still got no kind of discernible percussive elements and no well, not even much in the way of like a bass element. So actually let's change that. See if I can make this. We get a nice signal out that one. Oh, changing the pulse width, okay. Let's carry that over from wherever we had it before as well. So actually I think I want to make this is going to be the sort of like the bass note. I think I want to make this a bit kind of bit more defined than the other ones with their slow attack and release. So I'm gonna get a different envelope on there. Let's have attack decay because it's nice and small. I quite like the pluck envelope, but for the purpose of these tiny grid patches, attack decay works pretty well. I've got this one. Oh, planets in the middle. Wow. Can have loads of fun with the frequency ratio stuff. But I'm just trying to kind of get cheap ways to transpose things down an octave. So when you can do something using stuff already built in, for these tiny 10 by 10 patches, it makes sense to do it. You can normally do it using the transposed modules, but for saving space with these little grid patches, this is probably the way to go. Nice. Oh, now that's starting to sound more kind of tune-like already. Just a little bit. I'm just going to have to admit I've got no idea what's going on with our divisions here, and I could work it out, but it's going to take me more time than I want to spend on that on the rest of the video. So I'm keen to know what's going on here and how it's relating to the notes that are coming out. seems to be kicking out overall quite large number values. Oh, okay, maybe one thing I want to do, I was just trying to work out if I need to limit the scale a bit further, constrain it. Oh, I don't know though. It's making nice effects. Okay, let's try it with stereoized. Generally quite pleasing. Still feel like it's got a little bit more in the way of high notes and not quite as much in the way of low notes as I want. Anyway, good enough for now. I wonder if some of the pluck envelopes might just overall sound more suitable for this than the slower, sorry, not the pluck envelopes, the attack decay envelopes might sound overall better than the attack release envelopes. Try another one in there. Yeah, I quite like those in general. Now, so again, trying to save space, I haven't used any LFOs anywhere, but you can use the loop on the envelopes here to create a kind of almost an LFO. So LFO, low frequency oscillator. So this can do something a little bit like that. If we make it kind of faster, it can and make it loop when it gets to the end. Start again. Yeah, that's sort of chopping up. Oh, I like that. Oh, we could have some more fun with that one. Might just need to boost it up a little bit. So you have to kind of cheat and do stuff you're not really supposed to do. Normally, I would probably work out why that signal was quieter, but I'm guessing it must be these blend modules here. I'd actually like that one to be a little bit louder. But I've got no more way to turn it up other than see if I can stick one of them in. Let's just do gain. Where do I want that to go? Oh, it's somewhere over here, isn't it? I've lost it now. Oh, here. Okay, this one. So I'll take out the final of my blend signals, and I'm going to just, because I don't want it to mess up the layout here, so I'm going to drop it in over here, and maybe I'm not going to use it in the end, but I just want to kind of chuck it in there now, so I can definitely make that. That one needs some gain on it. Okay. Compared to the other signals, fair enough. It's another thing you can do with algorithmic music generation is change the attack envelopes and stuff like that. So let's make more use of these modulators I've got from before. Get them to do some stuff like that. So I'm going to take these note values and I'm changing the attack of this chord envelope based on the second note's value. And you can go further with that, do it on other stuff here. So now each of these envelopes here is going to have a decay rate set by the note value of the oscillator. So already quite a lot more change. And then maybe I'll set the attack value based on the note value of the opposite one. So the first one will be set by the fourth one, second and third set each other, and so on. Let's do that. So first, just I don't know. It's just see what it does. Try stuff out, see if it works. Get rid of it if it doesn't. So we've got loads of variation going on now from a comparatively small number of things. Oh, in fact, I know what's a useful signal to have is the ability to change something slowly over time. So I'm going to use a... I've lost it now. I want a follower, which is in envelope. Yeah. Okay, so this will take a control signal coming in and just kind of create a smoothed version of it. So I could take my let's take the noise signal coming in and make a smoothed version of it. Will it work? Oh no. Okay, that's not going to work. I need to take the sample and held version and then create a smooth version of it. Yeah, there we go. Look, so here's our note values going into the follower, and then this is smoothing them out to just make a usable control signal. It's going to follow the note values a little bit more than I want it to. I'd like to have something more random than that if possible, or less related to another thing going on. But since recycling is kind of the name of the game here, we can take that and connect that to something useful here. Right, there we go. That's going to give us a slowed down version. Oh, so it's not the noise one anymore. This is going to be follower or something. Follower out, whatever. So now we've got a nicely slowed down signal occurring over time. So what could we do that would be interesting with it? I could change the blend of the oscillators on the chord for a start. We've got a different kind of mix going on every time. Is that working? Kind of sounds like it. I want them to have an opposite effect to each other. Sounds like it's working. Oh, it's just on this chord. Cool. Might make it slightly slow decay. And fact, we could make that change over time as well, so that the chord gets longer or shorter. Okay. Now this gain control is a bit annoying because I was trying to save some space by not having a mixer, and I have still saved some space, but in having to compensate, so it's starting to look ugly over here. I like to keep things neat and tidy. I haven't used kind of colour coding of stuff as much as I would normally do. Okay, so we listened to just that one. So actually maybe I want a longer delay. In fact, maybe this attack decay is actually going to be better replaced by attack release for the chord. Again, I'd normally, when making bigger grid patches, I'd normally use ADSR or the pluck envelope generator, but with these tiny 10x10 patches, it's really important to save as much space as possible. I think it's not mad enough. I'm going to make that modulate something else. Mess with the wavetable a little bit. So you can create lots of modulation stuff very quickly in Bitwig. I'll turn some of these down a little bit. Let's go. Maybe I'm just going to get rid of this gain and find a different way to do it. Yeah, I think it's going to work enough. Okay. Now what I'd love to do if I had a lot more space would be to take copies of the note values and preserve them and use them to make some other oscillators play a kind of a series of notes related to the ones that are being randomly generated, if possible. But working in a very small amount of space, it's hard to do that. So trying to make interesting stuff happen. Yeah, well, you just have to try out things that you wouldn't normally do, which can make it harder to steer it musically a little bit. Though I'm quite enjoying this one still. Still not really producing anything that feels like a kind of discernible tune yet, so I'm not sure how I'm going to accomplish that in this particular patch with this small amount of space remaining. Might be one of those times it's fun to try changing this constant just to see if we get something totally amazing and usable in a different dividing of our note values, because who knows, let's just shift it and see what happens. It's also just interesting. No, not massive difference. Okay. So a lot more kind of discordant, I'd say. Bit of a more discernible relationship there. Oh, nice. Oh, okay, so this is now quantizing things to 2 Edo, I think. So if I set to this is 1 Edo. So octaves. 2 Edo. Yeah. Okay, so the kind of decimal place here makes it harder to do certain stuff. I wonder if it'd be good if it were like if it had 3 or 4 decimal places, but anyway. 5 Edo. So 10 Edo. Maybe. Don't tell me off if it isn't. Hard to make sense of. So sometimes when stuff sounding kind of too bonkers and hard to make sense of, just simplify it, at least for a little bit while working on it. So this seemingly 5 Edo tuning works alright, as you'd expect it to, because when there's only 5 notes per octave, they all fit together really nicely, whatever is played. So it's probably quite a good bet for an algorithmic generator, because the rules are a lot simpler. But I was really hoping to get 10 Edo working, so don't know. Maybe not this time. Perhaps I'll have to go away and have a play with it. Okay. Well, got a grand total of 9 squares left. What can we do? Well, we could make some pitch stuff behave in a slightly more interesting way. Let's have it on our bass part down here. So this is just going to add very slight follow delay on the pitch shifting for the bass, which will just make it stick out just a little bit more. Give it that kind of. Oh, nice! I love that sound. That sort of pingy, zerpy kind of. Oh, that's definitely worth 1 square. In fact, we could change that slightly over time as well. Let's change that. Just to... Okay, I want to make it go slower actually. Might be one of those times where it's good to have a listen in mono again. Great. Well, I'm enjoying that one. Oh, in fact, okay. Really nice trick in Bitwig, in the grid, just to detune the oscillators a little bit, gives us kind of free stereo width in a way. So this, oh, okay, press the little plus minus on there, just kind of detunes the left and right of the oscillators just a little bit to make them just slightly out of phase with each other. So if you do it on everything, it probably will sound too much. We can go really far with it, make stuff really out of tune. But mostly I just want to keep it small, just to help give us kind of extra feeling of width in the mix just a little bit. For free, in a very small space. Okay, seems like our grid patch is going phenomenally loud, so maybe I'll crank all those down a bit. It's because of my attenuation over here. So let's turn that up. So I've still got my mute button. Yep, still works. Great. Okay. So I'm also kind of vaguely thinking about the mix of these oscillators and the different sounds going on here. I'm still thinking about what on earth can I put that's useful in 8 remaining squares. I don't know. Maybe I can find maybe I can find a way to rearrange something so that I can put a bigger block in rather than. Oh yeah, we got to get a delay in there. Let's do that. Right, so I'm gonna try. Oh, it's gonna offend my sensibilities, but sometimes you just gotta do these things. I want it all to be neat and line up, but today I don't think it's not gonna quite go that way. How much space does a delay take? So I'd love a mod delay, but that's, oh yeah, maybe. See if I can get it in. Move them up. What would I have to do? Still trying to work out how to lay everything out to make a bit more space for myself. Oh, I really want it. Because I don't want to just randomly move stuff because it would make it more confusing. Okay, I'm going to do that and that. Is that any better? Get a tiny bit of space. Oh, it's... Can it work? 1, 2... Yeah, it should definitely work if I can just find some way to chuck stuff around. Maybe I'll have to stop caring about it being tidy. But again, it's not just about caring about it being tidy, it's actually about creating a manageable thing to work with. And so if okay, maybe I'll just move that for a minute. Okay, right. There's got to be a way here somehow. What do I want to do? I'm going to do that and that. Because it all has to fit. All the stuff that's going to be included has to fit inside this grid. So my test equipment over here doesn't, but this one does. Okay. So what can I do? I'll take a fine. Oh, I'm going to take a signal from here into the delay. How can I get it to come back in somewhere without messing up too many things? It might just be one of those times it's a good opportunity to build it out of the way. and move it in once it works. Okay, so I could make use of another blend. I like blends. They're like a useful way of getting something like a mixer, but in a much smaller space. Just like a 2-channel mixer. So I want to have the dry signal and the wet signal. So I'm going to send, again, routing stuff, when you're trying to save lots of space, you do things that you wouldn't normally do as well, in terms of like having the wet signal and the dry signal kind of being mixed together in a funny way that you wouldn't want to do if it was going to be your effects chain. But algorithmic, there's no rules. Make whatever you want, including breaking the rules of how to mix things together, if indeed there are any. So it's getting to the point where it's hard to keep track of it all now, and it's late and I'm tired, but I want to finish it. So I'm going to put the wet signal. Oh, I want the dry signal. Okay, dry signal. And then that's the delayed signal, which I want to put into my sort of... oh, where do I want it to go? What have I done with the reverb? See, this is where it's hard to keep track of everything. Just a minute. Okay, so my chord, which is getting mixed over here, is then going to this envelope, which is then going to... oh man. Sometimes you just have to go, oh, I can't remember what that's doing. Just try your best. Okay. Well, something's gonna happen. Move some stuff out of the way. So my final signal... oh, okay, here's the final signal. Oh, okay. So... or maybe I want this signal to go here. I think that's the one. And then that signal can go there. Sounds like it. Oh, come on, Bitwig, let's put it there. No, not going to let me. Alright, great. Need a faster computer. See that there. See that there. Great. Okay, so I can now do some... we'll definitely end up with far too much delay. But we've got this delay, wet, dry. So delay, wet, dry. Which I can also, let's make it change over time. So with our sort of slowest changing thing, okay, it's going pretty good. Got one square left. No idea what I'm going to do with my one square left. I had this nice dice over here. I almost feel like I want to find a thing that makes it shift the notes of everything over time, so it doesn't just carry on in that same exact same scale. Well, I want to keep the scale the same, but I want to move the sort of register of it up or down a bit. So can we do that with one square left? I have got no idea, but perhaps we can. Let's get maybe a transpose. Just the one. And if I could put that in the right place somewhere. Perhaps it needs to go somewhere up here. Okay, I might move our... Haha, it's going to get messier. I'm going to move the constant out of the way just because it hasn't got a good home. So, sorry constant. Down there. Down you go. I kind of call that EDO thing. Just to give me some idea of what it was supposed to be doing before I moved it out of the way. Now, transpose. Can we get you in there? Before there. Yeah. Stick it on that one. Okay. Okay. Seems to work. Okay, but it's letting us set... okay. Start. Will we get anything back from that yet? Oh, I've killed my patch. Take that out then. No, nothing. Okay, because I've probably set something to a value that it doesn't like. How embarrassing. Radio silence. Anything? Nothing? Wow, really? Nothing at all. What have I done? Can we get any sound at all? Can we get any sound out of Bitwig? Let's try that for a start. Do we get a scale? Okay. Well, that's going to be the worst interlude music ever while I work out... Oh, here we go. Let's listen to that one while I work out what's going on with this grid patch. Okay. Right, a little bit of background noise there while I work out what's going on with this one and why we're getting absolutely nothing out of it. Turn it off. Turn it on again. Anything Bitwig? Have I disconnected something incredibly important? I've got no idea why it's not doing anything. Let's send it a note value, see if it does, or press play. Just in case. Does it respond in any way? Oh, Bitwig. What are we playing at today? I'm sure it's my fault, not Bitwig's. But I can't work out what I've turned off that's made it suddenly not work. Oh, and the last square of my challenge as well. So it's trying to take that value and transpose it. And I thought I was successfully doing that, but somehow it just seems like we're not clocking the gate. Okay, let's do that. Does that make anything happen? Signal in, signal out. Wow. I just don't know what's going on. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. Or why we're getting nothing from it. Ah, these things happen. Can I get any sound from the grid? Let's try that. So, okay, might as well. What happens when it all goes wrong? Because, you know, the tutorial doesn't stop running. So, okay, well that makes a sound. That's good. So, process of elimination, I can get some kind of sounds come out of my grid. So, can I... Does this make any difference? So I've got nothing going on over here. So have I accidentally unplugged or muted something? I do not know. Let's have a look. So simplify stuff. So obviously, if you get yourself tied in a knot at this stage, it's harder to make sense of it because there's so much packed into such a small space. Makes it all the more frustrating when it doesn't quite work out. Ah. I honestly don't know what I've done or why Is it not doing anything? Okay, that's making signal. That's scaling the signal. That's taking a copy of it. So it seems like nothing's triggering. Phased. So could it be that I've modulated something? Aha. Okay, there we go. I've somehow modulated something into a crazy out of range value. Okay. Well, that's... okay. Right, I've worked out what happened. So if you're still here, if you haven't tuned out because of not enough interesting stuff happening, what I did was... ominous. So because I've recycled my note values, my randomly generated values, I've tried to make use of them as many times as possible. I ended up modulating the rate of my phase signal to go to 0, I guess, which meant that it wasn't triggering any of the gates, making anything happen. So again, sometimes tuning these algorithms, weird stuff happens. So that was an annoying time for that to happen with only one square left. Because I thought it would be quite easy to just kind of note shift the whole thing, but actually shifting the notes is going to affect our timings of stuff too. So I wonder if there's a safer way to do it. If I can just do it here somehow. Perhaps one of these. What would be a good way to kind of quickly chop that in? I might just use the bias. So this should let me transpose. Also make things happen faster. Okay, well that kind of works. I wonder if I can make that change over time. Oh, I've still got... Oh no, okay. Down to my last square. Right, okay, so I'm going to do away with my test bench here. Plug the main thingy in. Done. Okay. Unplug that. Get rid of that. There we go. Tidy up. Patch as it is. Right, record a bit of that. Just for posterity. Let's have another look at it again. Doing its thing. So there we go. Whole bunch of ways that could probably be changed into other stuff, but essentially got a patch doing quite a lot of its own stuff. Definitely a bit random at the moment. We could make these, we could modulate these levels over time as well. So I don't know, let's do something like that and just make them overall. Oh, okay. Would have been quicker to do it all in one go. Think of these things afterwards. So they're going to get louder and quieter over time, just a little bit, sort of all together. Anyway. Oh, okay. One more thing. Let's do the all pass delay time just a little bit, because that will create some more strange stuff. Bring it out a little bit. Oh, there we go. Some kind of tune. And it's 5 Edo, I think, not 10. So, back to the drawing board for now, on a usable way to get 10 Edo to work algorithmically in the grid, because I probably can do it, I think, but it's going to take a little bit more space than I've got available in these 10 by 10 grids. At least I haven't worked out a nice way to do it for now. It might be possible using a small number of got maths blocks here, so we could use them to force the numbers to constrain them to fit a certain modality. But anyway, not tonight because it's late. So I hope that's been fun and interesting for you to watch. I have been Dave Mutex, and thanks for watching my YouTube channel. Let me know what you'd like to see in future videos. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this kind of thing. I'm going to be making a lot more of it. Some shorter videos as well as longer sessions too. Okay, I'll let this thing play us out. Good night.